All right, welcome to Skull Pilates. We have Alexis this afternoon interviewing her for Black History Month. She is one of our founding members. Alexis, welcome to Skull Pilates.
Thank you. It's great to be here today.
Thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, I am Alexis Dishman, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. I am currently the Chief Lending Officer at Community Reinvestment Fund USA. We provide loans to under-resourced entrepreneurs between 100,000 and 5 million all over the United States. I have two beautiful daughters, Elise and Haley, and I enjoy Pilates.
Amazing. Thank you very much for that. So, actually, something already keyed in on me, finance. An underrepresented industry, not only for women, especially for minorities. And you are the chief, the boss.
The boss.
Tell
yeah.
us about that. Like, how does that industry, what does that industry look like to you? And how, my follow up question is, how have you shaped that industry to impact and help, other minorities?
Sure. So, in terms of lending and finance, it has definitely been a journey for me. Entrepreneurs, particularly entrepreneurs that are under resourced, those that live in communities that don't always have access to capital, have certainly been challenged through the years. I'm going on 25 years in my career in lending, and I transitioned to community development finance when Detroit was emerging from bankruptcy. And I thought that it was an important opportunity, an important time for me to have an impact on our city. So I focused on community facilities and focused on working with nonprofits. And I've certainly evolved, and now I have the opportunity and privilege to serve entrepreneurs, particularly small business owners. And when you are challenged with running the business, trying to figure out how to continue to have customers, how to manage prices, how to continue to grow the business, finding capital and finding solutions can always be a challenge. Oftentimes when you're starting or you're trying to grow your business, and we primarily work with second stage businesses. Those have been in business for about anywhere from 2 to 3 years, and they're in some sort of transition in their business. And accessing capital can absolutely be a challenge, particularly working capital. So I've had the opportunity to develop products that meet the needs of entrepreneurs that aren't able to access capital because maybe they don't have adequate collateral or cash flow has been up and down. So that is how I've had an impact on the entrepreneurial community and growing and developing entrepreneurs.
Amazing. So when you mean transition, second stage, what kinds of challenges do those borrowers have?
Right. So oftentimes the borrowers have either, sometimes their revenue sources have been up and down. And that means, when I say revenue, that means their sales. I have to always remember I'm not talking to an accountant. So that means their sales. So their sales may have been up and down. Maybe they've had times where prices have gone up and they've had price sensitivity, or there's been changes in the economy. And because of that, maybe they haven't shown all the time that they've had a profit. But that doesn't mean that their business is not sustainable and won't be successful without additional resources or capital to either hire more staff for inventory growth, to purchase a building because perhaps their lease space has increased, and it makes more sense for them to own at that point in time. So we're really working with businesses that are in some sort of transition.
If you would have to give one advice to a business person in that transition state, what would that be?
To continue to be resilient. I would say don't give up, because there are so many solutions and opportunities. You just have to ask and continue to ask, but don't give up, because oftentimes at the point where you feel like you're breaking, that's the point where the best opportunities are going to come, and you're going to find what you need and find the solutions. I would also say be transparent. If you've had challenges or things have occurred within your business, it's difficult for someone like me to help you if I don't understand what has gone on, and you don't want me to make my own assumptions or come up with my own story. So transparency is extremely important as you're working with anybody that's providing capital to you.
Amazing. And you did say nationwide, right?
Yes, all over the United States.
So nationwide means most likely high stress?
Yes, at times it is high stress.
Okay.
I would say I have a team of 36 employees all over the United States. So they don't all directly report to me, but I have a team of leaders. So at times that can be stressful because there's different challenges that my team is facing. There's different economic challenges. In October, the government was shut down. That had an impact on my ability to support and provide capital to entrepreneurs because we can provide any SBA, anything through the Small Business Administration, any capital. So that was very stressful for both my team and for the entrepreneurs that had projects that needed to move forward. They needed to hire employees. They had real estate transactions that needed to take place, but we were at a standstill. So that was absolutely a stressful time in my life.
So how do you manage your stress?
So Pilates is one way that I manage my stress. Physical health has been an important part of my career, and I'm going to say it's an important part of my career because without having some sort of physical activity in my life, I wouldn't have been able to balance the stress and also manage raising 2 children and just being a whole person and showing up with my best self for my team members. So I went through a time where I could not run. And because I could not run, that was like my outlet. I was really having a hard time and it was very stressful. And I'm so happy I found Pilates. I actually found Pilates because my physical therapist had me doing Pilates as part of my recovery program with him. And I was thinking like, I'm paying a lot of money, but I really like this, but also physical therapy will be over. So I was like, I need to find a place where I can continue on with this. So I will say I tried a couple of studios before I found Scope Pilates, but I'm certainly found home here.
Thank you. Amazing. And what does self-care look like to you nowadays?
So self-care, one is making sure that I take time for myself. So whether or not that's Pilates, that's getting a massage, that's also eating healthy. So one of the things that's really important to having the ability to continue to go in a high stress position is eating properly as part of like taking care of yourself. So it's very important for me to have like certain nutrition values. In addition to that, I take vitamins. But between the physical activity and eating healthy is part of like my healthy lifestyle.
Wow. And what's like in your daily rhythm that's non-negotiable for you?
So as much as I can, some level of exercise. So when I'm at home, I sign up for my Pilates classes. When I travel, I try to always make sure that I find hotels that have exercise facilities so I can walk. And then my eating. Like I am a strict pescatarian, and at times I will be a strict vegetarian. It just kind of depends on where I am. But just trying to make sure that I'm eating healthy I just see how it impacts my body.
So how does that translate to your legacy for your daughters?
So for my daughters, I have always, so they weren't athletic, I will admit, they are dancers. But I always made sure that they had something that was a part of their life that had to do with physical fitness and physical activity. I try to, as much as possible, teenagers, sometimes it's hard, but to really instill in them healthy eating habits. And now as young adults, and even when they were in college, I really encourage them to find an outlet, always have some sort of either physical activity if they could, whether or not it was going to a yoga class on campus or just going to the gym. I've really encouraged them to. The other thing is when they're home, I generally try to have them come to a Pilates class with me. And they really enjoy Pilates. And I'm happy that I can share that with them.
Amazing. Wanted to segue in terms of your leadership role in your job right now as a minority and as a leader in finance. Again, a very an industry that hasn't seen as much, people of color in leadership. How do you work to really impact your organization?
Sure.
And then also, how does that trickle down to your borrowers?
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that I really do focus on is creating an inclusive environment. So regardless of what your position is on my team, your voice is important to me. I also have a very open door policy. So while we're remote and I sit in Detroit and the majority of my team is in other places, I schedule check-ins with them. Even I schedule skip levels where I'm not meeting with their manager, I'm meeting with them. And I really do try to encourage all of my leaders also to have an inclusive and a very much open door policy where everybody's opinion is important and everyone feels valued. Now, what I'll say is that we may not be able to honor what you think we should do or how we should move forward, but I'm always willing to listen. And I will say, like, we've received some of our best ideas and our best opportunities from those that may not sit in certain positions, but they influence the business. And then in terms of our clients, I really do try to make sure that everyone feels good when they meet and encounter our team. So regardless of whether or not it's a yes or a no, or we're able to help them, I always want to make sure that they feel good and they understand if we weren't able to help them, why, or if we were able to help them throughout the process, regardless of who they talk to or touch, from the time they submit an application all the way through closing, all the way through our portfolio management team, they have the exact same experience with our team. I really feel that for entrepreneurs, particularly those that are under-resourced, there have been so many times where they've been told no and don't understand why, or haven't been given or provided with the same type of opportunity, that it is extremely important for us to just ensure that we are providing a safe space where people feel like finance and talking about numbers is not everybody's sweet spot and not everybody's comfort level, but they feel comfortable having those conversations with us and admitting maybe I don't understand or I need some more assistance, but somebody's here to help and listen.
It's so amazing that I hear really it's a people business, right? Mm-hmm. It's being a human being to another human being.
Absolutely.
And just being kind to the next person that you encounter is kind of what's going to set your legacy apart, I think.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Who's inspiring you right now?
There are so many women that inspire me. It's so difficult for me to really put my finger on it. But the one person I'll say right now that I pay attention to, and it seems like every time she says something, I'm like, oh my goodness, wow, she's fantastic, and she always shows up in an authentic way and shows her whole true self, and that's Michelle Obama. I absolutely have, ever since she was the first lady, because I will say I didn't know of her before then, but to read her book, to understand that she had a dynamic career, and to understand what she has poured into her legacy, and that she is confident and comfortable enough in herself to always bring the best of Michelle, regardless of the situation. That, to me, it's not always an easy thing, particularly for someone that has been in the position that she's been in. For her to be able to do that is such an inspiration to me.
It really is. She's an inspiring woman.
She is fantastic.
Yes. I do have, a broader question, and you may or may not have thoughts to it, but I certainly want to hear from you in terms of, what does Black History Month mean to you?
Yeah. So the month is great, and I'm happy that it is an opportunity to uplift those that have left a legacy and have had an impact on the world itself in all different ways and all different facets. I think Black History means to me is an opportunity to make sure that we share with that generation that's coming behind us, to understand that although we may see people in certain lights, we may see where they are right now, to understand their stories and how they got to where they are creates an inspiration, and it creates an opportunity for that generation coming behind me.
Amazing. If you are a Pilates principal, what would you be? And there are 6, so I'll read it off to you. There's control, there's breath, there's precision, there's flow, alignment, concentration, or center. Which one would you feel the most aligned with today in your Pilates practice, in your daily life, in just how you move about your days?
Sure. So I think flow. I'm between flow and persistence. Flow because I believe that it doesn't matter what happens to you, it's all about what you do next. So even in Pilates, like it was a struggle when I first started. I'm not gonna lie, particularly coming here. But what I'll say is, like, even though it's not always as easy, you just kind of flow with it, and you come another day and you're like, wow, I did that. I didn't even think I could do that last time I was here. So that flow and that continuous movement and continuous improvement, I think that's part of what sets my life apart and what I'm about right now.
Thank you. One last question. What's your best book read so far?
A Year of Yes, Shonda Rhimes.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, that was a good one. And I think like the reason that I really thought it was good was because it didn't focus on Shonda Rhimes, who wrote Scandal and all the other, you know, wonderful dramas and miniseries that she's written. It really focused on her and taking the time to say yes. And how many times do we say no when we're like, damn, I really should have said yes, or I missed out on an opportunity. But like just taking on different things in a particular year and saying, I'm going to say yes to this, and all the different opportunities and experiences she had as a result of that, to me are fabulous.
As a follow-up question to the Year of Yes, what's the yes that you're going to say yes to this year?
This year, so my plan is to travel to Ghana. I have not been on an overseas trip for a number of years, like pre-pandemic. I don't like long plane rides, which is really kind of what stops me, because I really just don't want to be on a plane that long. But it is something that has been a part of what I wanted to do for myself. It's on my vision board. So this year I'm saying yes to a long plane ride, and I'm making my way over to Ghana.
Amazing. Alexis, thank you for balancing life together with us here at Skull Pilates. We appreciate your time. Thanks for pouring out into all the members that you connect and encounter on a daily basis. Happy February to you, and we'll see you at the studio.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wow, I feel good.